All right, welcome back to another Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade video, and today we are going to be ranking the top 10 free-to-play characters in Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade. This includes Global and JP. The only thing really different about JP right now is this guy. I honestly don't know how to say his name, but Yoshinobu Gakuganji. Yeah, I'm really bad. It's like Jujutsu Kaisen names are so hard to say, guys. I've literally watched it all and I still can't say like some of their names. It's so hard sometimes. But yeah, he is the only thing different on JP from Global. Realistically, we have like pretty much all these other characters available on Global. So we're going to talk about where these characters rank in the top 10 free-to-play characters, and hopefully this will give you guys an idea of which free-to-play characters you might potentially want to work on. Also, it's important to note that some of these free-to-play characters, like the Jujutsu Kaisen Zero Maki and Panda and Inomaki, just got buffed, so that might change the ranking a little bit. But honestly, like, I don't feel like their buffs were that crazy, but they did make them a little bit better. So the number one spot, let's start with that. We're just going to start right with the best spot, okay? Who is the best SR or SSR free-to-play character in the game? And this is all my opinion. Feel free to let me know if you guys disagree down in the comments, or if you agree. It's always nice to see when people agree with, you know, what I'm thinking. But in my opinion, the best free-to-play character in the game by far is going to be this Yaga. Yaga is the number one pick for me, in my opinion, simply because he is the best buffer in the game. He's run on like every single team right now on Global, and he is run on like every single team right now on JP. He's still run to this day. He has so much longevity in the game, and he is very, very good. It is kind of hard to create a list like this where I put characters in order of, like, you know, the top 10 best characters, because some of these characters do different things. Like, there's a best support character, which is Yaga, and then there's realistically probably like a best damage character. So I'm gonna do my best to get them in the right order, but you know, just keep in mind that it might not be exactly perfect. Okay, so but I think Yaga, I feel like most people can agree, Yaga is up there at the top as probably the best free-to-play character. Whether we're talking just, you know, support, damage, whatever, like, he is the best. He's just straight up the best. Okay, other contenders for the rest of the spots, I would say at this point, are like Mahito is very good, Inomaki's really good, Kaido's really good, that Nanami's really good as well. He's definitely a contender. Jogo's pretty decent. Hanami's definitely decent. Like, we got a lot of contenders, and they all do kind of different things. Some of them do support, some of them do damage, right? So they could be moved up or down accordingly. But with that said, I think the number 2 spot is probably going to go... Oh gosh, this is hard. This is hard. People are going to flame me if I mess this up, but I feel like support wise, I feel like support is more valuable than damage, because supports run on every single team. So I think support characters, in my opinion, go above all damage characters, because a support character can be run on pretty much any team. A damage character like Mahito cannot be run on every team, because you might be running another damage character. Hanami can't necessarily, well, she's kind of a debuffer. She probably could be run on most every team. She's decent. Jogo can't be run on every team. Like, you would have to take off one of your DPS and replace one of your DPS with Jogo. So like, for that reason, like, attack characters like Mahito and Jogo, they're not going to be as good as you think they might be, whereas supports, like, once again, here's my reasoning, they can be used all the time, no matter the circumstance. So my next pick, realistically, this one might surprise you guys, is him. It's him. I will explain why. We'll take a look at his kit and stuff. So once again, I can't say his name. Yoshinobu Gakuganji. I think I'm saying that right. So he is a really good debuffer, but not only is he a debuffer, he is a buffer in a way as well. So his skill 1, Cursed Energy Burst, deals damage to the selected enemy, decreases the selected enemy's Jujutsu damage by 10% for 3 turns. Now, if you have the alternate tuning state active, it changes the effect to 100% Jujutsu damage to the selected enemy, and increases the enemy's damage received by 10% for 2 turns as well. So 2 different effects. This one decreases the damage the enemy does. This one increases the damage they take, right? So very interesting stuff. So this one, they're both debuffs technically, but this one's one's kind of like a buff in a way. So that's why I said he's kind of like a buffer at the same time. His skill 2 is called Tuning, increases own jujutsu damage, which doesn't really matter, that doesn't do much, but then it activates or deactivates the alternate tuning state, which is interesting because that allows you to essentially pick what skills you're going to be using. And then his skill 3, Cursed Energy Beat, deals 120% jujutsu damage to all enemies, increases all enemies taijutsu and jujutsu damage received by 25% for 4 turns. That is insane. That right there is absolutely insane. AoE to all enemies, and it increases how much damage they're taking from both types of damage by 25% for 4 turns, and at level 10 it goes up to even more. That right there is why he's so good. Now if you activate alternate tuning for this skill, it changes the effect to deals 150.4% jujutsu damage to all enemies. Let me switch back to level 1, 100% at level 1. Inflicts confusion status on all enemies for 3 turns with a 30% chance, and stuns all enemies for 1 turn with an 80% chance. And if you upgrade it to level 10, of course the percentages go up, but it's very, very interesting. And then he also will always take action last with alternate tuning state. So it's a very unique character where you have like 2 kits in one and you can choose which kit you want to use. I think that is like absolutely amazing support. And then his ultimate is Cursed Energy Melody, deals 360% jujutsu damage to all enemies for 3 hits, decreases all enemies damage dealt by 25% for 2 turns. And then if you have alternate tuning active, changes the skill effect to deals 480% jujutsu damage to all enemies, and then decreases all enemies' ultimate count by 1. So he can decrease enemies damage dealt, or he can decrease their ultimate count on his ultimate, which is also pretty useful. But once again, I feel like his most useful skill realistically is the ability to increase the damage they receive by 25%, really up to 37% for both taijutsu and jujutsu. Being able to do both types of buffs it's like the same reason that Yaga's good, right? Yaga is good because he does essentially the same thing. So because he can do pretty much everything Yaga can do and then some, he might actually be, I'm going to give Yaga the #1 spot. He might actually be a contender for the #1 spot though, just because he's such a versatile support character who could potentially be run on any team. But I have to say, Yaga's been around for so long, he's the GOAT, and most people are going to have him duped, whereas they might not have him duped. So I think for that reason as well, Yaga stays at the #1 spot. But this guy, like, if you don't see why he's good, he's out. Like, I can't explain it any better. Like, he's just absolutely freaking insane. Now for the 3rd spot. Okay, like I said, mostly going to be supports first. I'm going to focus on supports first, and I can't stress this enough. It's because they're more versatile. They can be used in more circumstances. I feel like personally the 3rd spot goes to Kaido. Kaido is one of the most unique and useful characters in the game, a rare character as well, so a character that people are going to very easily be able to dupe out. Rare characters are great for that. Additionally, he gives cursed energy back to allies. The more you upgrade that skill, the more cursed energy he gives back. And then his ultimate is one of the best damage amplifiers in the game, and it's really, really important when it comes to clearing high level content like formidable foe battles or formidable battles like Esso and catches. You know what I'm trying to say, man. I can never say the name. Somebody write it down there phonetically for me. I can never say that. Anyways, I just said it in the event video, but yeah, he's really good for just boosting damage and stuff like that. Also in Illusory Tower, he's really good at boosting damage. So just an insanely good character, will be run on many, many teams. So I think he is your #3 pick for sure. Your #4 pick, you can kind of see where I'm going with this, but it should be to nobody's surprise that I rate Inumaki. I debated putting Inumaki above Kaido, but I was like, nah, I just can't. Kaido is more versatile. He's used more, right? He's definitely in the top 3, but top 4 is not bad. Inumaki is able to stun characters repeatedly, which is really, really good in like the Jogo formidable foe battle. A lot of people have used that strategy that I have shown in previous videos. Like, he's very good for that. But not only is he good for that, his skill 2 is insanely useful when it comes to helping other characters get their ultimates faster. So that is absolutely massive, and there's like no other characters that can do what he can do, and the fact that he can do 2 of those things, I think, makes him invaluable. Like, these, by far in every way, in my opinion, are the top 4 free-to-play characters. Now, from 5 down, this is where it starts to get a little bit hairy. I feel like those top 4 are kind of uncontestable. let me know if you disagree in the comments though. But from 5 down, this is where people can start to be like, okay, I agree or disagree. So the next character that I'm going to place for the 5th character, and feel free to agree or disagree, but I feel like it has to be Hanami or Nanami, one of the two. Okay, both of them are really good in their own right. Hanami is really good for the debuffs that she does to the enemy, like giving your team survivability. It's actually clutch in any like illusory tower stage where you need some survivability. Very, very good. It's also really good in formidable battles. It's all the way around. It's useful in a lot of circumstances, and it stacks. It's so useful. And she has an AoE ultimate. Now Nanami, on the other hand, has like one really good skill where he's able to just buff all the time, and it pairs well with Yaga. But personally, outside of that skill, I don't like, which is his skill 2, I don't think his other skills are all that great. It leaves a little bit to be desired. And so because of the fact that Hanami has a really good skill 3, which reduces the damage your team receives, and a really good ultimate, which is an AoE, and then also expands the domain, which makes it so your team basically just takes no damage, I think Hanami is the better character actually out of the two. I know Nanami, a lot of people like him, and like this was hard for me to decide, but I feel like Hanami has to be the number 5 pick just because she is so good for team survivability and so good at helping your team out and stay alive. Now next, that means number 6 spot goes to Nanami. Nanami is a very good buffing character, but like I said, his other skills, his ultimate, his skill 3, his skill 1, leave a little bit to be desired. Really, you're only using him for his skill 2. Once in a while, you'll pop an ultimate when you get an ultimate to do a little bit of extra damage. But other than that, like at least Yaga has his skill 2 and then his ultimate as well. Technically, his skill 3 does some stuff as well, but people don't really use the skill 3. But usually it's skill 2 and ultimate. But for like Nanami, it's just skill 2. And it's not even as high of like a percentage as Yaga, if I remember right. Yaga, I think, is a higher percentage. If not, Yaga has a higher turn count. I can't remember which one is which. But yeah, so I don't think he's as good as the other characters above. He's good. He's top 10 free-to-play characters. Like, look at all these free-to-play characters. He's top 10, but he's not as good as some of the ones above him, in my opinion. So, once again, all my opinion for this video. Let me know your guys' thoughts if you agree or disagree. And now we get into the last 4 spots. And this is where it gets even more hairy, because now we just have, essentially, damage characters left. All the good support characters are used up. Honorable mentions, like this Inomaki, decent. Nishimiya, decent. Miwa, decent support characters / tanks. Like they're okay. Get like even her, she's good for healing. Each character, this SR Kaido, another honorable mention. Plenty of characters that I think are decent support characters, but I feel like these are your best options for support characters. And now we move into the damage characters for top 10 free-to-play characters. So the number 1 damage character, in my opinion, that is a true free-to-play character, like you don't have to pull him or summon him or anything, is going to be Mahito. Mahito is a very, very good free-to-play damage character. He is like, if we're looking at, free-to-play damage characters and we're making just a tier list for just damage, he's probably at the top. He is at the top. He is the best damage character. He literally goes at the top, just period, okay? And then next up on your free-to-play damage, tier list, if we were just doing that, it would be Jogo. Jogo would be absolutely insane. However, in this case, because we are not just looking at damage, we are looking at other things. We're looking at just how good in general they are as a free-to-play character. I feel like I have to put Mechamaru next, because Mechamaru has some of the best AoE damage in the game. And that is so helpful to any free-to-play player that is trying to just auto things and clear things quickly. Like, he is very, very good. He's one of the only characters actually on Global right now that has the AoE for really quick clears. So he's very, very good. I actually rate him more than Jogo as of right now. Not to say that Jogo is bad. I just think he has more like unique usefulness to just the general player overall. And then of course, then I have to place Jogo. Then Jogo goes in the 9th spot for damage and usefulness, and as a free-to-play character, he's fairly decent, right? And that just leaves us with the 10th and final spot. And this one, I feel like this is the most controversial spot, because look at what we have left. look at the characters that are left. There are not very many good characters left. We got pretty much all the best free-to-play characters up here. In my personal opinion, you've heard that a lot this video, but I just gotta say, like, I want to reiterate it enough for everybody to understand. My opinion, those are the top 9 characters. So the 10th character, it has to be, and she's not above the damage characters because she's not as good as the damage characters. She's not as good as the other support characters, but she is better than the rest of these characters here. Nishimiya, I mentioned her earlier. She is very good. She has evasion. She's like the lesser version of the SSR version of Nishimiya. You know what? Let me just show you guys. Like, she's interesting, right? Okay, so this is Nishimiya, the SR version. So you can see her skill 1 just does damage. It doesn't do a debuff like the other Nishimiya, which makes the other Nishimiya very good. Skill 2, intelligence sharing, increases all allies' damage by 41% for 2 turns. So the fact that it's only 2 turns puts her, you know, lesser than other characters. Like, that's why Yaga and Nanami are up here, because they have longer turns for their buffs being up to help the allies. So the fact that she only does 2 turns kind of limits her. If this said 3 turns or 4 turns, it might be a different story. She would definitely be higher on the tier list, but because it says only 2 turns, that's why she is where she is. She does give herself evasion, which gives her more survivability with that skill. Her skill 3 does have a chance to stun all enemies, which can be super useful because it is an AoE stun on a command skill, which is decent. At level 10, though, it only goes up to 86%. I would like for that to be over 100% for a stun chance. So, I mean, I would like for that to be a little bit higher realistically, but I understand the 86% chance because it is a stun all enemies. But if you're ever taking on a single enemy stage, that's just not going to cut it, right? So that's okay, not the greatest. And then we have evasion status to self again on that, which is pretty good. And then this one for her ultimate has another chance to stun all enemies and gives her evasion again. So a lot of survivability, decent support, but her only real buff skill is her skill 2, and it only lasts for 2 turns. So the fact that that only lasts for 2 turns does kind of put her in the 10th slot. Like, I would still take a damage character, probably over putting her on the team. If I had absolutely like none of these other characters up above, then I would put Nishimiya on the team, but I feel like she's going to be the least used out of the top 10 characters. And the rest of these characters you see right here are literally just kind of fodder characters. Even the JJK 0 characters after getting buffed, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Like, honorable mention to Inumaki, actually. His buff was big and helped him out with the countering and drawing aggro and stuff, and I think it was actually super useful, but still, like, even Nishimiya is better than him. So, you know, a lot of these characters can be used in a certain niche way for certain things, so don't get me wrong, they all have their uses, but these top 10 characters are going to be the most versatile and the most useful for you guys overall as free-to-play players and as free-to-play characters that you guys want to use. So hopefully this helps you guys out, helps you figure out how oh wow, I can't speak, helps you figure out who to invest in. And if you guys did enjoy the video, please consider going down there, hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the channel. Peace.